So I've been using this supplements company called sauté for a while. They're owned by a charitable foundation, and Tracy is their nutritionist. So welcome, Tracy. Thanks for coming to our kitchen.
Thanks so much for having me.
What are we going to make?
Yeah, so today we're going to make something super simple. It's just a curried lentil bake. It's got loads of good stuff like butternut squash, kale, coconut, some sun-dried tomatoes in there, so amazing. All that nice stuff.
I guess the ultimate question is, what is a healthy diet?
Think of food more in terms of information and not just calories.
Yeah.
Because really what we're eating is telling our body how to function properly.
So one of the questions we get a lot of the time is like supplementing and what do you need to supplement?
The reality is that if you're living in modern society, then most likely you're going to need some type of supplementation. Now the reason for that is that we're currently experiencing something which we refer to as the nutrition gap. It's the difference between the level of nutrients we require to avoid deficiency, so things like anemia, where you might be low in iron, versus the levels of nutrients we require to function optimally, so to have optimal energy, vitality, things like that. A lot of us are eating, high calorie, processed diets, but that they're quite nutrient poor. So it's really, really difficult to get the amount of nutrients we require. And I mean, another one as well is that we do see declining levels of nutrients in the soil. So, even if we're eating specific vegetables and we're like, great, I'm getting my magnesium and my vitamin A, you aren't necessarily getting the same amount. And also lifestyle factors. So things like stress, alcohol, caffeine, so being exposed to these things, being exposed to pollution, medications, all of this increases our nutrient requirements again. I usually recommend a food-based multivitamin just to fill that nutrition gap, and then of course depending on what your other requirements are, so as we say, if we're plant-based or if you're under high stress, then you might consider some other nutrients on top. So we're just going to pop the onions in the pan with a little drop of olive oil and saute them for a few minutes until they get soft. We're just going to drizzle the butternut squash with a little bit of olive oil, some salt, pepper, and pop it in the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes. So when your onions are soft, we're going to add the garlic, the ginger, the lentils, the curry powder, and your stock cube. Pour in your water, then we'll bring it to the boil. We're going to mix that together, put on your lid, turn down the heat, and just let it simmer for about 15 to 20 minutes.
Okay, it smells like, all that curry powder and everything is amazing. So Tracy, I'm going to chop our sundried tomatoes for us. One question kind of going on what we were talking about last time in terms of like supplementing in terms of plant-based diet is B12. Will you just give us a bit more information about that? Because I think it's something that really confuses a lot of us.
The interesting thing about B12 is that it's actually not made by plants or animals, but rather it's produced by bacteria in the soil. If you're looking for a B12 on its own, then I do recommend either a hydroxycobalamin, which is the name we give to the form of B12 naturally found in food. And so again, your body's recognizing it as a food, it's absorbing it as such.
I'll pop all of this, by the way, in the comments section below.
When we think of calcium, we think two things. We think bones and we think milk. But actually, there's loads of amazing plant-based sources of calcium. It's just about knowing where to get it. So things like green leafy vegetables,
so like
the kale, the broccoli, nuts and seeds. So sesame seeds are really rich. Almonds. So anyone who likes almond butter, you're getting lots and lots of calcium in there.
My two favorite foods are almond butter and hummus has all
tahini.
The tahini, so
I mean, even having those in your diet every day, that's a significant amount of calcium. And then also what's important is to make sure that you're optimizing your vitamin D and your vitamin K levels as well, because these are really important nutrients. We call them cofactors, and they basically help the calcium get to where it needs to go in the body. So again, we're looking at our kale, our broccoli, anything that's green and leafy. Spinach is a really great source of iron. Again, things like molasses are really rich in iron, black treacle, it has that real licoricey taste. So something that I really like to recommend people who are low in iron is actually taking a teaspoon of molasses molasses, dissolve it in a little bit of water, or add it to a smoothie and make that a daily habit. It's really good at quickly boosting those iron levels.
Amazing. That is brilliant advice.
So do we want to check the butternut squash? So once the butternut squash is nice and soft, we're just going to take it out of the oven and add that to the lentils. Then we'll pop in the sun-dried tomatoes, add the coconut milk, and then the kale. Just mix it all together, leave it to soften a little bit for about 2 minutes, and then it's ready to go into the pan. So we just pop it into the oven dish, sprinkle some pumpkin seeds on top, and then pop it in the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes.
Cool, so while that's baking, we're gonna make just some simple sauteed broccoli.
Simple, sauteed in the pan, a little bit of olive oil, salt, pepper, just to serve with the bake.
One question I had, because our readers have asked it quite a lot, is kind of omega-3s and that whole fatty acid space, and I think that can be incredibly confusing. Will you enlighten us a little bit on that one?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we all hear about omega-3s, how important they are for literally everything in the body. So your skin, your brain health, mood, everything like that. You're really thinking about your nuts and your seeds. So things like walnuts, flaxseed. So, you know, adding some walnuts and flaxseed to your porridge, for example, is a great way of getting some omega-3s in. Hemp seeds are a great source as well. There's different types of omega-3. So there's DHA and EPA, which are the active forms of omega-3 in the body. So these are the forms that we get through fish, through seafood, things like that. Now the form that you're getting through plant-based foods is ALA. And ALA needs to be converted into DHA and EPA in the body. So that's
a little bit more work for your body.
Exactly. So the thing about that is that while the body can convert ALA into DHA and EPA, it isn't always the most efficient process. It's a good idea if you need more omega-3 to consider a vegan plant-based supplement. And the one that I recommend is algal oil. So that's sourced from seaweed. It's the best plant-based omega-3 supplement because it's the only plant-based version that actually has the DHA and EPA, which are the readily available, so they don't require conversion at all.
This looks incredible.
Thank you.
And it smells, oh, this kitchen smells so good. Like seeing it when it came out and it was all bubbling. Amazing. Those lentils are so creamy.
It's really Moorish. I love anything that's just kind of...
And so like hearty and filling. And this would be amazing as well for anyone to make maybe this evening, like on Sunday night, and then you could take the leftovers to work with some rice or something like that.
And it freezes really well as well. So if you wanted to make a big batch, you could freeze some portions for use later on.
And then in terms of the supplements we were talking about, because I know I said I'd been using, this is completely genuine, I've been using the company for ages. After, I said someone at Whole Foods recommended it to me. So that was the B12 that I've been using. And then a few questions about pregnancy. So I've been taking a pregnancy multivitamin, your Pregnaplan, which is easy. And then I also in the winter take your vitamin D as well, just because I wish we didn't live in a cold country, but we do. Awesome, well thank you so much. I'll put the links to everything below and obviously all the recipe below as well. And Tracy, thank you so much. Honestly, it's been so interesting. And this, I feel like I'm gonna make like 100 trays of it and freeze it all before the baby comes, and then I can just live on it. And it would do a lot of swaps, couldn't you? Like sweet potatoes.
Oh, so easily.
Or spinach instead of the kale.
Throw in some peas.
Yeah, cauliflower, like anything really, right?
Exactly.
Amazing, well thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
And have a lovely evening, everyone. Bye.